before you. We present ourselves before you. Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us in your righteousness. We present ourselves before you. We present ourselves before you. Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us in your righteousness. We present ourselves before you. We present ourselves before you. Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us in your righteousness. We present ourselves before you. We present ourselves before you. Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us in your righteousness. We present ourselves before you. We present ourselves before you. Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us in your righteousness. We present ourselves before you. We present ourselves before you.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. To the listening audience, Shabbat Shalom. This is the book of Telahim, the book of Psalms, chapter 5. Give ear to my words, O Yahuwah. Consider my meditation. Hearken unto the voice of my cry, my King and my Elohim. For unto you will I pray. My voice shall you hear in the morning, O Yahuwah. In the morning will I direct my prayer unto you, and will look up. For you are not an El that has pleasure in wickedness, neither shall evil dwell with you. The foolish shall not stand in your sight. You hate all workers of iniquity. You shall destroy them that speak falsehood. Yahuwah will abhor the bloody and deceitful man. But as for me, I will come into your house in the multitude of your mercy, and in your fear will I worship toward your holy temple. Lead me, O Yahuwah, in your righteousness because of my enemies. Make your way straight before my face, for there is no faithfulness in their mouth. Their inward part is very wickedness. Their throat is an open sepulchre. They flatter with their tongue. Destroy them, O Elohim. Let them fall by their own counsels. Cast them out in the multitude of their transgressions, for they have rebelled against you. But let all those that put their trust in you rejoice. Let them ever about for joy, because you defend them. Let them also that love your name be joyful in you. For you, Yahuwah, will bless the righteous. With favor will you compass him as with a shield. Hallelujah.
Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us in your righteousness. We present ourselves
Elohim, the book of Psalms, chapter 139. O Yahuwah, you have searched me and known me. You know my downsitting and uprising. You understand my thought afar off. You compass my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Yahuwah, you know it all together. You have beset me behind and before, and laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain unto it. Whither shall I go from your Ruach? Or whither shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend up into heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, behold, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall your hand lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yeah, the darkness hides not from you, but the night shines as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to you. For you have possessed my mind. You have covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows right well. My substance was not hid from you, when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Your eyes did see my substance, yet being imperfect, and in your sefer all my members were written, which in the continuous were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. Hallelujah.
Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us in your righteousness. We present ourselves before you. We present ourselves before you. Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us in your righteousness. We present ourselves before you. We present ourselves before you.
This is the book of Telehim, book of Psalms, chapter 143. Hear my prayer, O Yahuwah. Give ear to my supplications. In your faithfulness, answer me, and in your righteousness. And enter not into judgment with your servant. For in your sight shall no man living be justified. For the enemy has persecuted my soul. He has smitten my life down to the ground. He has made me to dwell in darkness, and as those that have been long dead. Therefore is my Ruach overwhelmed within me. My heart within me is desolate. I remember the days of old. I meditate on all your works. I muse on the work of your hands. I stretch forth my hands unto you. My soul thirsts after you, as a thirsty land, Selah. Hear me speedily, O Yahuwah. My Ruach fails. Hide not your face from me, lest I be like unto them that go down into the pit. Cause me to hear your loving kindness in the morning, for in you do I trust. Cause me to know the way wherein I shall walk, for I lift up my soul unto you. Deliver me, O Yahuwah, from my enemies. I flee unto you to hide me. Teach me to do your will, for you are my Elohim. Your Ruach is good. Lead me into the land of uprightness. Quicken me, O Yahuwah, for your name's sake, for your righteousness' sake. Bring my soul out of trouble, and your mercy cut off my enemies, and destroy all them that afflict my soul, for I am your servant. Hallelujah.
Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us
chapter 3. My son, forget not my Torah, but let your heart guard my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to you. Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them about your neck, write them upon the table of your heart. So shall you find favor and good understanding in the sight of Elohim and man. Trust in El Yahuwah with all your heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuwah, and depart from evil. It shall be health to your navel, and marrow to your bones. Honor Yahuwah with your substance, and with the first fruits of all your increase. So shall your barns be filled with plenty, and your presses shall burst out with new wine. My son, despise not the chastening of Yahuwah, neither be weary of his correction. For whom Yahuwah loves, he corrects, even as a father, the son in whom he delights. Happy is the man that finds wisdom, and the man that gets understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain thereof fine gold. She is more precious than rubies, and all the things you can desire are not to be compared unto her. Length of days is in her right hand, and in her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are ways of plentiness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happy is every one that retains her. Yahuwah is by wisdom has founded the earth, by understanding has established the heavens. By his knowledge the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down the dew. My son, let not them depart from your eyes. Guard sound wisdom and discretion. So shall they be life unto your soul, and grace to your neck. Then shall you walk in your way safely, and your foot shall not stumble. When you lie down, you shall not be afraid. Yea, you shall lie down, and your sleep shall be sweet. Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither of the desolation of the wicked when it comes. For Yahuwah shall be your confidence, and shall guard your foot from being taken. Withhold not good from them to whom it is due, when it is in the power of your hand to do it. Say not unto your neighbor, go and come again, and tomorrow I will give, when you have it by you. Devise not evil against your neighbor, seeing he dwells secretly by you. Strive not with a man without cause. If he have done you no harm, envy not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. For the forward is abomination to Yahuwah, but secret is with the Yasharim. The curse of Yahuwah is in the house of the wicked, but the blessed habitation of the just. Surely he scorns the scorners, but he gives grace unto the lowly. The wise shall inherit glory, but shame shall be the promotion of fools. Hallelujah.
Lead us in your righteousness. Lead us in your righteousness. We present ourselves before you.
Father Yah, I'd like to thank you for bringing us here today on your Sabbath day, Father. I would thank you, Father, for keeping us over during these tries and troubling times, Father. I would ask that you still continue to lead us down your narrow path, Father, that we might be a light to the world, Father. As we come to you today, Father, I want you to say thank you for allowing us to be here in your house this morning, Father. We would like to ask those that are not here, that are sick and shut in, Father, that you reach out your hand and you cover them also, Father. All these things that I ask in your only begotten Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, Father. Amen.
Lead us, direct us, help us. We want to be pleasing. Lead us, direct us, help us. We want to be pleasing.
Oh, praises. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Oh, praises. Yeah, I'm happy to be here as well. Yeah, another one of those weeks. But Father brought us here, and what more can we ask for? You know what I mean? So yeah, we got a new parsha today, Torah portion Vayera. All right, so we starting this is from Genesis 18 and 1 through 22 and 24. So we're gonna be here for a few weeks. The Haftarah portion from the prophets is 2 Kings 4, 1 through 37. Then Brit Hadashah, New Testament portion is Luke 1 and 26 through 38. 24, 36 through 53. 2 Peter 2 and 4 through 11. So, yeah. All familiar faces. So I'm going to skip past the rules. The memory verse, Hebrews 13 and 2. Do not forget to receive strangers, for by so doing some have unwittingly entertained messengers. All right, so don't forget to receive strangers. All right. So what's going on in chapter 17? Did anybody get a chance to read the chapter? Anything stand out? I got purple, by the way, if that's what you're looking at, so I can. You got something out?
So, and we're in chapter 18, and
Con, you know what? I said 17, and I forgot to update it. Man, good eyes, Ike. Yes, sir. chapter 18. We in chapter 18. All praises.
all praise.
Yeah, there we go.
So I'm trying to. So I see Abraham. He's trying to get Sarah to go and pitch some, get some like water and food for the men that showed up, and these are the same men that pretty much reminding them like of the promise that the Most High gave him as far as his son far as him getting ready to have a son. But yeah, that's just one of the things that I noticed. These three men show up and they came to sup with him
All
at,
praises.
at the tent. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Came to sup with him. Like, yeah.
All praises. Anybody else anything else stand out? All praises. So basically, Abraham is visited at the Oaks of Mamre by three visitors. Now, if you pay attention, just look at this location. This is not Abram or Abraham's first time at this location. And it would seem to be that every time that he's at this location, something significant is happening. Okay? So Abraham shows hospitality. He runs to greet them, prepares bread, meat, and curds. Promise of Isaac is reaffirmed. Sarah will bear a son within a year. Sarah laughs inwardly, doubting due to her old age. Yahuwah responds, is anything too hard for Yahuwah? So visitors depart from Sodom, but one lingers with Abraham. Elohim reveals his plan to investigate the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham intercedes for the righteous, bargaining from 50 down to 10. And then Elohim agrees to spare the city even if 10 righteous are found. All right? So we told Me'od, right? Okay, so what do I see? I'm asking that because the title of this parsha, again, with all of these Torah portions, the title comes from a word or a phrase in the first couple of lines of the parsha. Okay, so, and then you're going to find that theme is kind of being carried out throughout the rest of the parsha, right? So last parsha was Lech Lecha, right? Go for yourself. And this one is Vayera, which is, and he looked and he appeared, right? Same root of the word there, okay? So verse 1, and Yahuwah appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, while he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and saw three men standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to the ground and said, Adonai, if I have now found favor in your eyes, please do not pass your servant by. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. And let me bring a piece of bread and refresh your hearts, and then go on, for this is why you have come to your servant. And they said, do as you have said. So Abraham ran into the tent to Sarah and said, hurry, make ready 3 measures of fine flour, and knead it and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree as they ate. All right, so what do y'all see? What can y'all discern about Abraham's and Sarah's character from this interaction? Okay. There we go.
Hello. You can see their hospitality to these three individuals, and for some reason he must know that they're who sent them, because he actually tried to bow down to them and show them honor and things of that nature. So, and he's providing food and drink for them. So I guess this is a test for us that when we have strangers or those who come among us, that we should show hospitality also to those, make them feel wanted and comfortable.
All praises. Akron.
Just want to add a little something to it. Like Elder said, the hospitality, not only is he feeding them, but he bows down, but he washes their feet. And me making a connection with that, you know what I'm thinking, you know what I'm saying, Yeshua. So, but he washes their feet there. That's big time right there.
All praises. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, it don't get no more. Uh, you can't be any more humble than to wash somebody else's feet. And listen, in some sense, you can't be no more humble, but to let somebody do that, because listen, ain't nobody coming their mind. But yeah, all praises, humility. It's a big thing. It's a big deal. Anybody got anything else before we move on? All praises.
He was definitely keeping his integrity, basically in the sight of the Most High, without God, basically not without guidance, but just doing it with basically free will of understanding what the Father wanted out of him, and not having to constantly being micromanaged, but just doing what was right, with a good sense of knowing the reward in the future will come from it without seeing the reward. So,
All praises. Like this is a case in point of his character. Like up to this point, we see. I mean, previous portions we looked at. Abraham's character, like his hospitality that he shows on a regular basis. Like, and it's just the nature of who he is. This is what he does. So all praises. We talked about that, like not having to get ready, but staying ready, right? And this is just him, living out Torah. So all praises. So this is just some food for thought. I'm not gonna stay here long, but since we here, I figure we might as well go ahead and take a little detour. Has anybody ever heard it taught that it is unlawful to eat meat and dairy together? To eat meat and dairy together, milk and meat. Has anybody ever heard that? Yeah, we're going to go there. I just wanted to know if has anybody even heard of it, because it's not the most popular thing within our spaces, but in some spaces it is a very popular thing. So I wanted to at least touch on it. Okay. All praises.
Actually, when you was asking earlier, what did we get from this? I was actually going to point this out of how, according to Talmudic law, Jewish law, and a lot of times our own people actually carry this out, where they try to tell you that you can't have beef and cheese together, or you can't have because they try to go off of I want to say what's that? I think it's in Deuteronomy where it says that you can't that you're not to cook the kid in the mother's milk, and they take that out of context. And clearly we see here that that thing that they try to say is wrong is actually a practice.
All praises, all praises. So yeah, that's really the reason why I wanted to touch on this. So that's where it comes from, right? I was about to ask if anybody knows where it comes from. Elder laid it out. So next question again will be, what did Abraham and Sarah eat with the messengers, or with these three men? I'll leave it there for now, right? So it leads us to a common sense question, right? Which is, well, if it's unlawful to eat milk and meat together, wouldn't this mean that the messengers, these three that were sent by the Most High, wouldn't it mean that they sinned by eating it? Right? So, and we know that that's not the case. So sometimes it's just some things we can just rationally reason with the word itself. You know what I mean? We can set the traditions to the side and just kind of deal with what the word is actually saying, right? So Genesis 18:8, like we said, he took the curds and milk. It's just basically like, for layman's terms, it's like saying cheese and meat, right? Cheese, meat, and milk, or in milk, and they all ate it. So clearly, right, that's not a prohibition as far as dietary law goes. So I just wanted to point that out. But where do they get it from? Mishnah Kulin 8:1, right? It says, it is prohibited to cook any meat of domesticated and undomesticated animals and birds in milk, except for the meat of fish and grasshoppers, whose halakhic status, so pay attention to the halakhic status, right, is not that of meat. And likewise, the sages issued a decree that it is prohibited to place any meat together with milk products. Example, cheese on one table. So the sages, quote unquote, got so serious about this that they said you can't even set a table with milk and meat on the same table. That's how serious they was about this, but this is another example of those quote-unquote traditions, right, of their fathers. It says the reason for this prohibition is that one might come to eat them after they absorb substances from each other, right? This prohibition applies to all types of meat except for the meat of fish and grasshoppers, and one who takes a vow that meat is prohibited to him is permitted to eat the meat of fish and grasshoppers. The meat of birds may be placed with cheese on one table, but may not be eaten together with it. This is the statement of Beit Shammai, or the house of Shammai. And Beit Hillel, or the house of Hillel, say, it may neither be placed on one table nor be eaten with cheese. Rabbi Yosei says, this is one of the disputes involving leniencies of Beit Shammai and stringencies of Beit Hillel. The Mishnah elaborates, with regard to which table are these holocaust stated, it is with regard to a table upon which one eats. But on a table upon which one prepares the cooked food, one may place this meat alongside that cheese, or vice versa, and need not to be concerned that perhaps they will be mixed with one, and one will come to eat them together. All right. So, like I said, no cheeseburgers, no pasta with chicken Alfredo. You can't have none of that according to what they're saying. But like I said, this was the meal that was prepared when Abraham was visited. It's a combination of these two things. So, just some food for thought.
I think in reference, what they was actually talking about here is that there are certain meats that you can't, just like veal. Veal is a small calf. And as long as it's still nurturing on his mother's milk, you can't eat it. It's until he's weaned off his mother's milk and he's back and he eats natural grass is when it's appropriate to eat him. But that's like I said, it was misinterpreted. And, basically what they're saying, I mean, veal is a delicacy that a lot of people eat nowadays. But what he was trying to allude to was that if it's still nurturing on his mother's milk, it's not a good time to eat that calf because it's still a child, a baby.
Okay, yeah, and what I'll do is I'll take it one step further, right? Because what we know is that this was a tradition that those rabbis taught that was based on a command that is found, like Elder was explaining, in Exodus 23:19, Exodus 34:26, and Deuteronomy 14:21, right? In all three of those places, it says, you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk, right? So the rabbis of a much later date interpreted this as a prohibition against eating dairy and meat products together, but that's not what it says, right? So most of us are unaffected by this tradition. However, being mindful that there may be some that have come across this particular tradition, I thought it might be a good time to give a little bit of context on where this comes from. So there are also ancient Canaanite texts, such as, if anybody wants to look it up, there's a library that was found, right, called the Rosh Shamra text. And within this text, it's written in Ugaritic, and it alludes to a fertility ritual that was practiced in the land of Canaan involving a young calf and his mother's milk. So it's a whole lot of layers behind why this is a practice where the Most High is like, nah, I don't even want y'all touching that. But as far as just eating milk and or dairy products and meat products together, that's it's being taken way out of context. So yeah, all praises. And just a funny side story. Like I used to work with um, someone who grew up as an Orthodox Jew, and it was a weird case because he had turned away from all the laws, all the statutes, all the commandments, all of faith. I asked him one day, like, so, like, what do you believe in? And he looked at me straight in the eyes and said, you know what, I don't know. I don't know what I believe in. I said, so, but he would still eat kosher because that's all he knew. And that's one of those guidelines. So like for him, if pizza would get ordered, not only like me and him both had the thing in common, like, hey, no pork, no nothing like that. But his thing was like he had to have a pizza without cheese on it as well because he still upheld not mixing meat with dairy products. So it is a thing. Like it's out there. It's just not as prevalent within our spaces. Go ahead, Brian. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't want to go back too far. I just want to ask this question. So, is there any significance of them being under a tree?
So it would what I would say is go back and look at just what that word for a tree is. Um, in the culture, these were known to be places for revelation, known to be places for learning, and receiving instruction. So even within the ancient Near East, in the context, oftentimes people would treat this landmark, these trees, as places where people would gather around and sermons would go out and everything else. So yeah, absolutely.
And the reason why I said it because I'm sitting here reading something that's saying symbolizes peace, safety, divine protection, and personal communion with God. And so when I read that, I was like, because we know that there's getting ready to be some destruction that's going on, that's getting ready to happen. And so that's what made me think about it. I didn't want to take you too far back, but I didn't want you to go too far ahead. So because it was still on my mind, I'm like, man, let me try to, yeah.
No, all praises. Like I said, this particular place, these oaks, if you will, are significant because every time that Abraham is here, something is happening that's significant, right? So, all praises. Okay, all praises. So, Genesis 18:3 says, Adonai, if I have now found favor in your eyes, please do not pass your servant by. Please let a little water be brought and wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree. And let me bring a piece of bread and refresh your hearts. And then go, for this is why you have come to your servant. And they said, do as you have said. So Abraham ran into the tent to Sarah and said, hurry, make ready 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, took a tender and good calf, gave it to a young man, and he hurried to prepare it. And he took curds and milk and the calf, which he had prepared, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree as they ate. All right, so notice the difference in what he offered from what he actually gave, right? So he offered very little, but he gave very much, right? So this is the essence of hospitality, right? He offered them very small amount, a morsel of bread, right? Wash your feet, and I'm gonna give you a morsel of bread. But he turned around and then gave them. He said, "Get the calf, cut it up. We about to have a feast, right?" And it's a significant thing because they generally don't touch the herd except for special occasions. Like this is not they not just like how we are eating meat with every meal, you know what I mean, every day. Like that's not how it goes in ancient times. So the context of it is that this is a big deal, and he's treating it as such. This is the extent of his hospitality. All right, so hospitality is a relationship between a guest and a host, wherein the host receives the guests with some amount of goodwill, including the reception and entertainment of guests, visitors, or strangers. So, man, my oh my. All right, so hospitality is the same root word as where we get a hospital. What's supposed to happen when you go to the hospital? You're supposed to get well. You're supposed to receive some healing, right? You're supposed to get cared for. So it's from the mid 13th century, a shelter for the needy. All right, so it's from Old French hospital, or hostel, a shelter, a lodging, right? So the sense of charitable institution to house and maintain the needy in English is from the early 15th century. The meaning institution for sick or wounded people is recorded by the 1540s. So the same word contracted is hostel and hotel. And by hostel, like they call those little small, it's like a small hotel. They use that phrase like overseas and stuff. So the sense shift in Latin from duties to buildings might have been via the common term cubiculum hospitalis, a guest chamber. All right, so notice this is where the term hospital comes from. Unfortunately, hospitals are now a source for many of our largest bills. So they have become institutions for profit in the system. But we'll see how this mentality ties into the parsha in a moment. But for now, just pay attention to how true hospitality can be a difference maker and whether one is a lifelong friend or enemy, right? So proper hospitality can be a device for bringing forth healing and restoration as hospitals are supposed to do, or poor hospitality can cause one to do harm to you, right, or become hostile towards you. So hospitality. I'm going to ask that in a moment. I'm going to keep going. So Isaiah 58:6. This is a major principle when we're talking about the Father and serving the Father, right? And I'll also say that it is a gift because not all people can tap into that, right? Like, not everybody has the heart to be hospitable. It doesn't mean that they love less, but it's just not their gift. But you know, we've all come across them, and many are in here, right, where there are people that have a special knack for being able to deal with people, to find the need, to feel the need, and they always on that time, right? Major principle. Isaiah 58:6. It says, "Is this not the fast that I have chosen, to loosen the tight cords of wrongness, to undo the bands of the yoke, to exempt the oppressed, and to break off every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and that you bring to your house the poor who are cast out, when you see the naked and cover him, and not hide yourself from your own flesh? Then your light will break forth in the morning, like in the morning. Your healing spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you. The esteem of Yahuwah will be your rear guard." Your righteousness is going to go before you. It's like a man that has a good name is better than choice rubies. Like, your reputation is going to go before you. Your righteousness is going to go before you. And Yahuwah will be your rear guard. It says, verse 9, "Then when you call, Yahuwah would answer. When you cry, he would say, 'Here I am.' If you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger and the speaking of unrighteousness, if you extend your being to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted being, then your light shall dawn in the darkness, and your darkness be as noon. Then Yahuwah will guide you continually and satisfy your being in drought and strengthen your bones. And you shall be like a watered garden and like a spring of water whose waters do not fail. And those from among you shall build the old waste places. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations. And you would be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in." So this is a major principle when we're talking about how the Father looks at things. You know, there's a lot of things that we will, as people, will esteem. And it really is like not as weighty in the eyes of the Father, you know, here is a perfect example. And he's correcting them, saying, hey, I mean, is this the fast that I asked for? What I want y'all to do is take care of the needy. It's not just about turning down food, but a lot of times we will just turn down food. You know what I mean? So is what the Father is looking at always is going to be our heart. And hospitality is a major principle. All right. So the question then becomes, knowing that hospitality is important, well, how do I show hospitality? Right? So now keep this in mind as we continue through this part of the parsha, because we're going to see how keeping this in mind is going to aid a lot in future parshas, right? Hebrews 13:1, it says, let the brotherly love continue. Do not forget to receive strangers, for by doing so some have unwittingly entertained messengers. Remember the prisoners as if chained with them, and those being mistreated, since you yourselves also are in the body. Let marriage be respected by all, and the bed be undefiled. But Elohim shall judge those who whore and adulterers. Let your way of life be without the love of silver, and be satisfied with what you have. For he himself has said, I shall never leave you nor forsake you. So that we boldly say, Yahuwah is my helper. I shall not fear what man shall do to me. Remember those leading you who spoke the word of Elohim to you. Consider the outcome of their behavior and imitate their belief. Yahusha HaMashiach is the same yesterday and today and forever. Do not be borne about by various and strange teachings, for it is good for the heart to be established by favor, not with foods which have not profited those who have been occupied with them. All right, so all praises. You never know who the Father might send before you, right? And you never know what the reason that individual is there for. But I can guarantee you this, he's always watching everything. No matter what you do, he's always watching. Nothing is hidden from his sight. So we know that this is one of the qualities that Elohims look for in the righteous. Ezekiel 18:4. See, all things are mine. The being of the Father as well as the being of the Son is mine. Both souls are mine. The soul or the being that is sinning shall die. But if a man is righteous and shall do right, ruling in righteousness, if he has not eaten on the mountains, nor lifted up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, nor defiled his neighbor's wife, nor comes near a woman during her uncleanness, if he does not oppress anyone, does return to the debtor his pledge, does not commit robbery, does give his bread to the hungry, and covers the naked with a garment, if he does not lend on interest or take increase, turns back his hand from unrighteousness, executes right ruling in truth between man and man, if he walks in my laws and he has guarded my right rulings in truth, he is righteous. He shall certainly live, declares the Master Yahuwah. All right, so now notice how hospitality and oppression are juxtaposed one against the other, right? You cannot serve those two masters, right? You can't have a mind to take advantage and hospitality. The two don't work together, right? Matthew 25:31, it says, and when the son of Adam comes in his esteem, and all the set apart messengers with him, then he shall sit on the throne of his esteem, and all the nations shall be gathered before him, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd separates his sheep from goats. Now notice how the nations will be separated and what determines if a nation is a sheep or a goat. Okay? And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then the king shall say to those on his right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. So notice how this kingdom is prepared and what qualifies you as a citizen in this context. Okay? Verse 35. For I was hungry and you gave me food. So what is he measuring this on? on the hospitality, right? I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. This nation might be in some trouble. We might be in some trouble. All you got to do is just look up Skid Row. There's a whole lot of people that's not being taken in and being cared for. All praises. Verse 36 says, I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you visited me. I was in prison and you came to me. Then the righteous shall answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry and we fed you, or thirsty and gave you to drink? And when did we see you a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and we came to you? And the sovereign shall answer and say to them, truly I say to you, insofar as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me. So again, the hospitality thing is a weighty matter. It's a weightier matter. It says, he shall then also say to those on the left hand, these are the goats, right? Go away from me, accursed ones, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his messengers. For I was hungry and you gave me no food. I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger and you did not take me in, was naked and you did not clothe me, sick and in prison and you did not visit me. Then they also shall answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and did not serve you? Then he shall answer them, saying, truly I say to you, insofar as you did not do it to one of the least of these, you did not do it to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into everlasting life. So sounds to me like this is a major principle, right? Major principle. Luke 16 and 19. How many of us are familiar with the story about Abraham and Lazarus? And the essence of this story is what? What got the man not having hospitality? So again, like I said, this is a major principle in the eyes of the Most High. All right, so Luke 16 and 19. It says, but there was a certain rich man who used to dress in purple and fine linen and lived luxuriously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Eleazar, Lazarus as commonly be, being covered with sores, who was placed at his gate, and longing to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Indeed, even the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to be that the beggar died and was carried by the messengers to the bosom of Abraham. And notice that Abraham he's like the gold standard. And the rich man also died and was buried. And while suffering tortures in Sheol, oh my God, having lifted up his eyes, he saw Abraham far away and Lazarus in his bosom. And crying out, he said, Father Abraham, have compassion on me, and send Lazarus or Eleazar to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am suffering in this flame. But Abraham said, Son, remember that in your life you received your good, and likewise Lazarus or Eleazar the evil. But now he is comforted, and you are suffering. And besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been set, so that those who wish to pass from here to you are unable, nor do those from there pass to us. So even if I wanted to do something, the judgment is set. There's nothing that I could do. You had your life and you lived it how you wanted to live it. And at this point, what can I do? And he said, then I beg you, Father, that you would send him to my father's house. For I have 5 brothers. Let him warn them, lest they also come to this place of torture. And Abraham said to them, they have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them. So hold on, wait a minute. This is New Testament still telling us we better reckon what's in this Torah. Right? Okay. And he said, no, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they shall repent. But he said to him, if they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither would they be persuaded, even if one should rise from the dead. And unfortunately, that has been proven true. Mashiach died and then rose. And he said out of his mouth, if you love me, keep my commandments. And even yet and still, there are many that are not convinced that the commandments are important.
So your actions will reflect your character as a person. It would speak a lot louder than the word that might come out of your mouth.
Absolutely. All praises.
It's the book of Tobit, verse 8 and 9. Prayer is good with fasting, and alms and righteousness. A little with righteousness is better than much with unrighteousness. It is better to give alms than to lay up gold. For alms do deliver from death, and shall purge away all sin. Those that exercise alms and righteousness shall be filled with life.
All praises. Hallelujah. All praises. So, 1 Peter 4 and 1. So it says, for as much then as Mashiach has suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin, that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of Yahuwah. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the other nations, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excessive wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable adulteries, or idolatries, wherein they think it strange that you run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you. Who shall give account to him that is ready to judge the quick and the dead? For unto this purpose was the good news, or the gospel, preached also to them that are dead, that they might be judged according to men in the flesh, but live according to Yahuwah in the Ruach. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Yahuwah. So this is how we're supposed to be as a body with one another. Supposed to have that kind of heart, right? Hospitality, servitude, servants, one to another, right? And in doing so, we serving the Most High, right? 1 Timothy 1 and 7, it says, for an elder must be blameless, as the steward of Yahuwah, not self-willed, not soon angry, not given to wine, no striker, not given to filthy lucre, but a lover of hospitality, a lover of good men, sober, just, holy, temperate, holding fast the faithful word as he has been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and convince the gainsayers. All right. So now that word for hospitality, if you look at it in the Greek, is G5382. Philoxenos. It's from 5384 and 3581. To be a lover or a fond of guests, to love guests. That is hospitable, right? Given to or the lover of the use of hospitality, right? How many people love to show hospitality. All right, so listen, if you put your hand up, that's probably a gift that the Father don't put in you, right? This is a unique thing. Like I said, everybody doesn't have this gear in them, you know, and some do it better than others. And there's no knock if that's not your gift. You know what I mean? Like, it's no knock at all. But some people, like I said, they're extraordinary in it. Okay, all praises. So he says, beloved ones. Now, I'm going to preface this to all of those that raise their hand. Because with that hospitality, I can't talk about the good side of it without talking about the bad side of it. Right? With that hospitality, you have to execute wisdom or exercise wisdom with that gift. Because just because you wired that way, it does not mean that everybody else is wired that way. Right? Just like you wired to give hospitality, it's some people that's wired to take advantage of hospitality. Right? So you have to make sure that when you're exercising in whatever gift that the Father has given you, that you temper it with wisdom, right? So he says, beloved ones, do not believe every spirit, but prove the spirits, whether they are of Elohim, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. You got to try every Ruach with the Ruach, because we're going to get an example where our people, and especially our people, we are known to be hospitable, right? You go down south, we are known to be hospitable to everybody. It's been some of our downfall. Historically speaking, there have been times where hospitality was not the thing that we should have been focusing on. We should have been focusing on in-house and getting ourselves right. But all the while, we were steadily showing that hospitality and then being taken advantage of all the while and plotted against all the while.
That reminds me of Sirach. In Sirach, where it tells you to don't give to those who don't give to the unrighteous, to the ones who ain't trying to walk upright, but you give to those ones who are trying to walk upright and just need a helping hand. Now I paraphrase that. But I just wanted to, when I saw that, and because I was already thinking it, and then you put it up there, only thing I was just saying is, when we making our decisions to help, we got to understand a person's character, and we have to weigh that character out. That's why he tells us in John 4 that we have to test that ruach and see if that ruach, true testimony. There's been times where people have asked me for things, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to give you this thing that you asked for. However, this is how we're going to do this. But when they didn't want the way that I was going to provide this thing for them, then they walked away. So this is why it's really important to know that if someone is actually in need, or if someone is trying to just abuse the system as you was just describing.
All praises. So major keys, right? Major keys. Joshua 9:1, right? So this is an example of where the nature of our people is taken advantage of, right? Joshua 9:1, it says, and it came to be when all the kings who were beyond the Jordan, in the hills and in the low country and in all the coasts of the great sea toward Lebanon, the Hittite and the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Perizzite and the Hivite and the Jebusite heard, they gathered together to fight with Joshua and Israel with one accord. So what are they to Israel? They're enemies, right? They're coming together to fight against Joshua and Yashrael, right? And the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, and they acted slyly and went and pretended to be envoys. And they took old sacks on their donkeys, old wineskins, torn and mended, and old and patched sandals on their feet, and old garments on themselves. And all the bread of their provision was dry. It was crumbs. So what did they do?
Be deceitful.
Being deceitful. They're appearing as, being needy, right? But it's really not what the case is. They just scared, right? So verse 6, it says, and they went to Joshua to the camp at Gilgal and said to him and to the men of Israel, we have come from a far land, and now make a covenant with us. But the men of Israel said to the Hivites, now y'all notice that these Hivites are the same ones that the Most High said, what?
Destroy them.
Make no covenant with them. Everything. Right? Everybody, everything. Everything. So he said, but the men of Israel said to the Hivites, it could be that you dwell in our midst, right? How do we really, it could be that you lying to us. So how will we make a covenant with you? And they said to Joshua, we are your servants. And Joshua said to them, who are you? And where do you come from? So they said to him, from a land far off, your servants have come because of the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim. So now what did they say? They said, we came from a land afar off. Why did we come? Because of the name of Yahuwah, your Elohim. So again, to those that have the heart of hospitality, test the ruachs. Before you go, Sister Kim, I'm gonna go to you, Elder.
This is a major thing with us, because Joshua never went back and talked to the Most High about what he was doing. And the scripture tells us, make no what's the word I'm looking for? Covenant with outsiders, because they were end up having you worship other gods, right? Now, once Joshua did that, they have been a thorn in our side ever since. Because a lot of things that's being blamed on us might not even be us. Because we are taking on some people who are unrighteous. They participated in pagan worship, and they never changed from that. As a matter of fact, when Saul became, I don't want to get too far ahead of you guys, but when Saul became king, he started killing them. He wanted to get rid of them, which we couldn't do because Joshua had already made a promise with them. This is why in the scriptures it talks about let the tares and the righteous grow together. These are the tares that Yah was talking about. Somebody had planted, because once we came out of the 40 years and Joshua took over, we were under one mind. We were worshiping one God. You know, even the sojourners that was with us he had gotten rid of all, through that 40-year period, he had got rid of all the rebels. So we were all under one mind until Joshua made that commitment to these people. And I'm telling you now, we are still suffering from that to this day. They have been a thorn in our side. We get blamed for a lot of things that might not even been us, because we took up some people that we should have never, ever made a covenant with. You have no idea how bad this got. Oh, my God, y'all really don't know.
All praises. All praises.
I've been studying this for about 10 years, trying to figure this out, you know, and they were pagans, you know. Once they made a commitment with us, we had to uphold it. We could not get rid of them after we made that promise with them. And I'm telling you, they have been a thorn in our side ever since. And we can't get rid of them. Only God can do that.
I think it's on, Elder. I think the volume is just low in here, but they can hear you online.
Okay. And
Red.
we're still suffering from that right now to this very day. or they lied to Joshua. And Joshua, and this is our problem. Sometimes we're just too kind and too generous to people, instead of asking or talking to the Most High. You know, just like we were talking about this last Sabbath when I was in Cincinnati about Passover, and those who could not make Passover could go and do it again the following month. But in order for Moses to get the understanding of that, Moses went back to Yah and asked him, what is it that we can do, for these people? Joshua didn't do that. And he took it upon his own self to make a covenant with these people, and they were no good. They'd never been no good and never will be any good. We even went to war for them and split blood for them, because they had made a covenant with those other people, and they broke that covenant with them. They are liars. They are deceivers. It is nothing good in them ever going to come out of that. And we stuck with them until Yah comes back, because he said, let the tares and the righteous grow together, and I will come and remove them, because we don't know who they are. They look just like us. Sometimes they even talk like us. But in the whole essence, they're not us.
Hey, all praises. Sister Kim.
I was just going to elaborate still on the hospitality at Galatians 6 and 10. It says, therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all men, especially to those who are of the household of faith. So, like you were saying, our people, it's just in us to be hospitable. And I really believe that we have that character because that's the character of the Most High. And he put that in us because we're made in his image. So, like you said, there are some people that do it better than others. They have just a knack for it, a gift for it, but it's something that we actually all, as part of Yasharel, supposed to do. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to all be hospitable. Nobody's exempt from that. So he said, when we have the opportunity, and there's going to always be an opportunity. That's just how the Most High is. He will set it up to see just how we're going to react and respond to certain situations and see, are we going to reflect the love of Christ through hospitality? I digress.
All praises. Like, absolutely. Like, what you'll find, like me and my Isha, we were talking about this. Actually, that was earlier this morning. Like, you'll find that there's a baseline, a general hospitality that we should have across the board, all of us, right? But then there's a level of things where it's like it gets more specific and more, where it's like, no, before I make a move on that, I need to make sure that the Father is giving me the okay, right? Like, to water it down, like, if I'm walking into the store, it doesn't matter who it is, I'm going to hold the door open for the next person, right? That's just a general level of how you're supposed to be, right? But then there's the another level of it where somebody might walk through that door and you might see their shoes talking, but before you make a move on it and before you get too involved, inquire with the Father, not just if I can, but now if he says yes, how do I find this need and fill this need, right? So it's a twofold thing, right? Which is why, like I said, wisdom comes into this. Because what we're going to see is that Joshua did not execute wisdom in this scenario, right? Good motives, good heart, good intentions, but he lacked the wisdom in this situation. All praises. So it says, and Joshua made peace with them and made a covenant with them and let them live. And the rulers of the congregation swore to them. And it came to be at the end of 3 days, after they had made a covenant with them, that they heard that they were their neighbors who also dwelt near them. And the children of Israel set out and came to their cities on the 3rd day. Now their cities were Gibeon and Kephirah and Bereshyth and Kiriath Yarim. But the children of Israel did not strike them because the rulers of the congregation had sworn to them by Yahuwah Elohim of Israel. And all the congregation grumbled against the rulers. But all the rulers said to the congregation, we have sworn to them by Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, and we are unable to touch them now. Right? So, again, why was this a problem? Deuteronomy 7:1. Yahuwah specifically commanded, make no covenant with these people. Right? So when Yahuwah your Elohim brings you into the land which you go to possess, he shall also clear away many nations before you, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites. That's who they are. And the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. And when Yahuwah your Elohim gives them over to you, you shall strike them and put them under the ban completely. Make no covenant with them and show them no favor. Right? So, yes, we do have a gift for it, but we got to temper it with wisdom, right? Absolutely. Sister Kim.
Well, just like I just read, he said all men, so that means no one's exempt to be hospitable to. So that's the difference. We don't make covenants with them, but we still have to be hospitable and show the love of Christ, regardless.
Con, I'm not. Don't get me misunderstood here. Like
Oh,
I said,
I'm not. I'm just making a point
There's a
'cause
baseline level. Like
For someone that might be listening in, they might think, well, he said we don't have to make a covenant with them, so they feel that might mean not deal with them at all.
Con. Like I said, there's a general level that we should be maintaining across the board as ambassadors and representatives of the Most High.
Yeah,
Right.
wisdom is always imperative
Con.
in any situation.
But yeah, definitely. Like I said, how far we go with this thing is something we gotta tap in with the Most High and get instruction on. You know what I mean? There are some people where it's like, if he instructs you, open up a room in your house and that person, let them get on their feet, right? If he's leading you there to do that, hey, all praises. But then there's another individual where now you done brought the enemy in your house. You know what I mean? Like, if he didn't instruct you to do that, then leave that alone. So across the board, like, there's a certain level, like, that we should have hospitality across the board. Just being, none of us should be seen with an evil eye. You know what I mean? One towards another. But there are levels to it. Like, and specifically, like I said, for those that have a gift in it, those lines are a little bit more blurred. You know what I mean? Like, I can say for me, like I told y'all, the thing that I went through in December, that's one of the lessons. Like, I'm so quick to pour out to others that a lot of times I'll neglect myself. But in order for me to love somebody else, I got to do what? I got to love myself. I love my neighbor as I love myself. You know what I mean? So you got to have wisdom and execute wisdom with all things. So, yeah.
And a lot of people think that once they made that covenant with them, that they were more inclined to be keep our faith, do things that we do. They never did. And the one thing Joshua did was he put them, now this was a lot of people that they had, and he put a group of these people in each family, in each one of the 12 families. He put these people in, and they were supposed to bring the wood and the water to us. This was what their servants were supposed to do. And that was a mistake, because some of them were actually working in the temple. They were cleaning up, and they the ones who got the fire to keep the eternal fire going. And they learned a lot of our ways. So when we got captured, I mean, this goes really, really down a rabbit's hole. And they never took up our faith. They were still practicing their same pagan worship. And you wonder how come we were so, how we became so vulnerable to a lot of the pagan stuff, because our kids were growing up with their kids seeing the same thing. This is why when y'all said they would turn you away from me, because they were never supposed to be with us. They never took our faith or done anything that was pertaining to us or to Yah. It's, I just don't know.
All praises. Okay, I'm gonna go Sister Nadavia. I'm gonna go Nadavia first, then Oxteve.
I know. I just wanted to go back to verse 14, and yes, and the men of Israel took some of their food, but they did not ask the mouth of Yahuwah. What it makes me think about, what would be the reason why you wouldn't ask of the mouth of Yahuwah? Is it because you think what you're doing is right already? So sometimes we have to just, it's so important to make sure that you understand the voice of Yahuwah, and that you are praying just in general, like, Father, please give me your wisdom and your understanding so I can be able to use it in every situation. Like sometimes, like you were saying, it's so spontaneous that it happens right there, and it's like, well, yeah, okay. Because like it is in us, so some of us to be able just to give, but it's like, hold on, like, then it comes those situations where it's like, no, actually, the hand of Yahuwah is on that person, and if you interfere, then you're gonna get dealt with, because it's not. But you have to be able to be in tune to know that. So again, like, it's normal. It's like, okay, yeah, this is right, but no, this is why prayer, hearing the voice of Ab Yahuwah, knowing His voice, it takes time and practices, and most of us, trial and error. But it's really important to understand. Okay, though we have a guideline of what to do, how to operate, how to love our brother, you still have to ask for the guidance of the Father. And how do I do this, Yahuwah? Because I don't want to be on the other side of it to where I don't messed up. I thought this was you, but no, actually it wasn't. But I don't know, because I didn't ask. I just assumed that it was you. So those assumptions is another thing we have to make sure we get in tune. Don't assume. Ask. Like, ask. You will receive if you ask of the guidance of Yahuwah. And just listen.
All praises. Yeah, definitely it ties back into what we were saying in previous weeks. All things are lawful, but not all things are expedient. You know what I mean? Not all things are helpful, and not all things are necessary in that moment. You know what I mean? That's where, especially for us being Torah observant, it stops there. You know what I mean? With it being lawful, but it's like, no, we got to also move according to His will and according to His ruach. You know what I mean? Even within that. So, Steve.
Shabbat shalom, y'all.
Shalom.
Following along, listening to Elder, and those tares among us, and in our own families as well. I could speak about my grandfather, passed away last year, but always never really got along with him because he was high into the dark arts. He was a Rosicrucian. He believed in a lot of mysticism and Kabbalah and all those things that are, away from the Most High. And so when I would tell him about, the Messiah, it's like, all right, I gotta go. It's like, it is what it is. And then you have I had a conversation with an Ak that's in the camp, and I've been in this truth 8 years. You got to call me More or Rabbi, and that's what I got my crew calling me. So they refer to me as a Rabbi. I was like, wait. So yeah, that went off, kind of like disagreed, and so it's a lot going on with like spotting a tear among you. So, and how the Most High is working, and not to give up also, you know what I mean? But if they keep on going the way they're going, you could just drop a seed like how you need to do with everybody. You don't need to try to be there and water it. It's just not going to receive it. Maybe not right now, but that's it.
All praises.
To that point, the tares, don't they look the same? The tares and the wheat?
Absolutely.
The similarities there. So just to that point, spotting a tear, like, that's deep in itself, because if you're amongst, and I mean, you may be a tear, but besides the point, what I'm saying is that you have to really, be in tune, like spotting a tear. And then the instruction was they all just gonna grow up. They all gonna grow together. So now you have this in the midst tares and weeds. Well, how do you spot a tare? It's a very tough question and something to think about. Again, asking the guidance of Yahuwah, because that's an important question.
They bear fruit. Like once they you if you okay. That's the okay. So yeah, the bearded darnel, if you
He mad. He mad. Yeah, when she just said that, it just jogged me to say that's the significance of having the Ruach HaKodesh, who leads us into all truth. John 16:13. So, yes, that's deep to be able to spot a tear, but, like you all were, I was going to say it before you guys said it. We know the tree by the fruit it bears. So, and with the help of the Holy Spirit, you're going to know. You're just going to know.
Touch them because we made a covenant with them. Joshua made that covenant with them. We can't touch them. Only Yah can.
all praises. All praises. Boy, they got Elder fired up about that, boy. Yeah, yes, sir. All praises. I Steve.
And that's true. Like, you don't even sit at the table with these people. Like, in Jude, it says they come among you like rogue waves, like wind out of nowhere with nowhere to go. So we just have to have discernment about what that fruit is. Okay, just because I say something about the Messiah, now you don't want to talk about it. I'm telling you about Freemasonry being wrong, or this Esau doctrine is error. You're closing. You're a Pharisee right now, brood of vipers, and okay, even when in that parable, he's setting the tares to the left side, and on the righteous that stand on the right side, look, Lazarus and Abraham, like how we talked, and then the man in Hades, in Sheol. Well, go tell my brothers, send someone from the dead to go tell my brothers. But not even they have Moses and the commandments. No, they won't. If they don't listen to Moses, they won't even listen to a man that's been resurrected.
All praises.
I was just saying with the bear fruit, genuine fruit, bearing righteous fruit, that's the key. Genuine, because you have some that bear fruit, and that fruit is not genuine. It's not righteous. It can seem to be, but it's not the point of the tear. So yeah, I just wanted to say that.
All praises.
This just goes back to what Miss Kim was saying, where wisdom, when we have wisdom, we had a discernment, almost like when, who is that? Solomon, when the two women came with the child, and he didn't know exactly which one was telling the truth, so he had the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit gave him that answer on what to do. And when he gave that test, he found the truth. He found the right person. It's like you guys said, it all goes back to the fruits. What fruits you show and what you do and how that light shines, So
All praises. Test the spirit by the spirit. Yeah. All praises. All praises. So we're going to shift from that, and we're going to transition. And this is all going to come full circle. We're going to see how all of this works and plays in with Sodom and Gomorrah and the place that's about to be judged, right? So Genesis 18:9, it says, and they said to him, where is Sarah your wife? And he said, see, in the tent. And he said, I shall certainly return to you according to the time of life, and see, Sarah, your wife, is to have a son. And Sarah was listening in the tent door which was behind him. And Abraham and Sarah were old, well advanced in age, and Sarah was past the way of women. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I have grown old, shall I have pleasure, my master being old too? So now notice how laughter keeps coming up with the birth of Isaac. His name means laughter. All right. So Genesis 18:13, it says, and Yahuwah said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I truly have a child since I am old? Is any matter too hard for Yahuwah? At the appointed time, I am going to return to you according to the time of life, and Sarah is to have a son. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh. Look at, what did it say? Ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Like, she got shook. She became a shook one. But Sarah denied it, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, no, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them away. So now, keep in mind that the title of this parsha is Vayera, right? And he looked, right? So he's looking, and what are they about to see when they look upon Sodom? So keep in mind, we're going to see that this is a big difference from what Lot saw, right? Because remember, we got introduced Sodom before, and he looked upon this place and said, hey, I bet you my bottom dollar by the end of the year, I'm there, right? Like, that's where I'm going. Just verse 13 alone explains, though, what was really going on. Genesis 13:13. It says, but the men of Sodom were evil and sinned before Yahuwah exceedingly so. So what kind of places is Sodom and Gomorrah in those cities? So pagan places, evil, right? They sinned before Yahuwah exceedingly so. Not just a little bit, but a lot of it. Okay. So now, mind you, just to go back to the point, why is Lot in Sodom? Because he looked, right? And that's a place that he chose. Was it a sin to go to Sodom? But was it expedient to go to Sodom? So again, we see how wisdom is going to be so important in every aspect of our life. Like, if you don't operate in wisdom, next thing you know, you could be in a mess, right? So, Bereshyth, Genesis 18:17. It says, and Yahuwah said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Since Abraham is certainly going to become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, so that he commands his children and his household after him to guard the way of Yahuwah, to do righteousness and right ruling, so that Yahuwah brings to Abraham what he has spoken to him. So that's a major key. And Yahuwah said, because the outcry of Sodom against Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very heavy, I am going down now to see whether they have done altogether according to the outcry against it that has come to me, and if not, I know. So now, Psalm 19:7, okay? I want y'all to keep this in mind, because there is safety in these laws, these statutes, these commandments, and operating in wisdom with these laws, statutes, and commandments. Psalm 19:7. The law of Yahuwah is perfect, bringing back the soul, or bringing back the being. The witness of Yahuwah is trustworthy, making wise the simple. The orders of Yahuwah are straight, rejoice in the heart. The command of Yahuwah is clear, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yahuwah is clean, standeth forever. The right rulings of Yahuwah are true, they are righteous altogether. More desirable than gold, than much fine gold, and sweeter than honey and the honeycomb. Also your servant is what? He's warned by them. And guarding them, there is great reward. So literally, what do we see happening in Abraham's life? Most High is specifically revealing, okay, hey, this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm about to do. And because you kept the Torah, because you're walking in these righteous rulings, you walking with my character, I know I can trust you with it. Right? What did he say? Hey, I know Abraham. I know him. I don't already know, he's tried and true. I know he's going to teach these commands to his household. Go ahead, Zakan.
Con, it's the same thing with Mashiach. Mashiach said to the disciples, you know, he says, you're no longer my servants, but you're my friends. Because you're my friends, you know everything that I know, so that you can come, because I know that you're going to continue in this walk after I'm gone. So, yeah, the word just fulfills itself, dude.
All praises. And that's a major key, because it was a process of development even for them. If you go back and look in an earlier place when he talked to them, what did he say? He said, the world won't receive me, but they'll receive you. Right? Like, at that particular point in time, he like, y'all ain't ready. But through the testing, the continuous testing, the continuous walking with them, then they ended up getting there to the point where he's like, yeah, nah, y'all good. And he can look Peter in the eye and say, feed my flock. Right? So all praises. So notice what Yahuwah says about Abraham. Notice what makes Abraham unique from others. Not only will he teach the ways of Yahuwah to those of his house, but you have to ask why this is important. So why is this something that Yahuwah is looking at in the one that he has made his covenant with? And what does this have to do with the nations of the earth being blessed in him, right? So basically what I'm getting at is that this has to be a thing that is not just for one generation. This wasn't just a thing that was just for right now. Like, no, the Father is looking for somebody that he knows many, many generations later. There will always be those in the earth that are still seeking after me, after this righteous example. And just like we read, well, we didn't read it today, actually, but these are examples written for our learning. Sister Kim.
Just to your point right there, I always tell people, Yah always has a remnant that's doing what his word says. You know, no matter what generation it is, back in the day, it was Noah, it was Lot, it was Abram, it was Hezekiah, it was, you know, so many, you know, even up to this day. People think, you hear some people say, oh, it don't take all of that. But we're supposed to be obedient to what his word says from Genesis to Revelation. Okay, because that's what our whole salvation is predicated on. And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of saints don't realize that. They just think it's a certain part of the Bible that we're supposed to just go by. No. But he always has a remnant. And a remnant is a small amount, a small number. So Noah was 8, you know, so we don't know what it is today and when he comes, but he's going to always have that remnant doing, crossing them T's and dotting them I's.
All praises. All praises. So, the wickedness of Sodom. Before I'm going to leave. Yeah, I was going, but you know what? I'm going to read the screen. Okay. The wickedness of Sodom. So, Ezekiel 16:49. I say this because there's one thing that we will often associate with the wickedness of Sodom, but like that's only one of many issues that was taking place in that place. And what you'll find is, we'll read it. So, all praises. Ezekiel 16:49. Unfortunately, this is the Most High speaking to Yashrael and saying that y'all have become just like them. Man. He says, see, this was the crookedness of your sister Sodom. She and her daughter had pride, sufficiency of bread. They had too much bread. And unconcerned ease. Has anybody ever been like too comfortable? What happens when you get too comfortable? You get complacent. You get lazy. Right? And she did not help the poor and needy. And they were haughty and did abomination before me, and I took them away when I saw it. So keep in mind how many went to see the situation before coming to judge the matter. How many went in Genesis 18, right? So 3 came to Abraham, and then 2 went to the city, right? Most High even keeps his Torah, right? All praises. He said that whether they doing it or they not doing it, then I'm gonna know. But I hear the outcry, I know, right? So Deuteronomy 19:15, it says, one witness does not rise up against a man concerning any crookedness or sin that he commits. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, a matter is established. When a malicious witness rises up against any man to accuse him of turning aside, then both men who have the dispute shall stand before Yahuwah, before the priests and the judges who serve in those days. Excellent point that was brought out about Solomon, right? Because this is that sort of thing, right? And the judges shall diligently search and see if the witness is a false witness who has falsely accused his brother. Then you shall do to him as he thought to have done to his brother. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. And let the rest hear and fear, and never again do this evil matter in your midst. Right? So, an extra biblical account of Sodom can be found in the book of Jasher. Now, whether or not one believes the book of Jasher can be shelved for now, right? My main concern at the moment is painting a picture of what the cities were like. If nothing else, we know that there were at least traditions that portray these cities in like manner, all right? So this is Jasher chapter 9. I thought this was an interesting story. Makes me laugh at times, right? So it says, and the cities of Sodom had 4 judges to 4 cities, and these were their names: Sirach in the city of Sodom, Sharkat in Gomorrah, Zabnak in Admah, and Menon in Zeboim. And Eleazar, Abraham's servant, applied to them different names, and he converted Sirach to Shakra, Sharkat to Shakur, Zebnak to Kezobim, and Menon to Matzladim. And by desire of their 4 judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah had beds erected in the streets of the cities. And if a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of their beds, and by force made him lie in them. So I'm just imagining you got this the town square, right? The main courtyard in the city. This is like downtown, the Times Square, right? This is Jasher 9. 1 through, right now on the screen is 1 through 7. So we picking up at verse 4. It says, and as he lay down, 3 men would stand at his head and 3 at his feet, and measure him by the length of the bed. And if the man was less than the bed, these 6 men would stretch him at each end. And when he cried out to them, they would not answer him. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together the 2 sides of the bed at each end until the man had reached the gates of death. So this is like torture. Like who thinks in this way? And if he continued to cry out to them, they would answer him, saying, thus shall it be done to a man that cometh into our land. And when men heard all these things that the people of the cities of Sodom did, they refrained from coming there. And when a poor man came to their land, they would give him silver and gold, and cause a proclamation in the whole city not to give him a morsel of bread to eat. And if the stranger should remain there some days and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death all the people of the city would come out and take their silver and gold, which they had given to him. So the man would be in there in need of help. And not only would they turn the help away, once the person perished from their circumstances, they run his pockets. Like this is the level of depravity and cruelty that Sodom is operating in, right? Zakin. All praises. Clerical error. Chapter 19. Jasher chapter 19. That's why you're asking, man. Hey, listen, I had chapter 17 on the screen earlier today. I got chapter 9 instead of 19 now. Oh, man. All praises. Toda y'all. Okay, so Jasher 19. What verse are we at now? So 9. All praises. Jasher 19 and 9. So it says, and those that could recognize the silver or gold, which they had given him, took it back. And at his death, they also stripped him of his garments, and they would fight about them. And he that prevailed over his neighbor took them. So in the event that somebody gave something to the person, knowing the destiny of the individual, they'll go back and take their stuff back. Uh-huh.
And then after he died, they took everything back from him. Man, if that ain't crazy, I don't know what it is.
Con. So it says they would after that carry him and bury him under some of the shrubs in the deserts. So they did all the days to anyone that came to them and died in their land. And in the course of time, Sarah sent Eliezer to Sodom to see Lot and inquire after his welfare. And Eliezer went to Sodom, and he met a man of Sodom fighting with a stranger. And the man of Sodom stripped the poor man of all his clothes and went away. And hey, it's sad because I'm going to leave it alone. All praises, I'm going to leave it alone. All praises. Verse 13, and this poor man cried to Eliezer and supplicated his favor on account of what the man of Sodom had done to him. And he said to him, why dost thou act thus to the poor man who came to thy land? Right? This is confusing. Like, why would you do this? Where I come from, we show love to the stranger. Why would you treat him like this? And the man of Sodom answered Eliezer, saying, is this man your brother? Or have the people of Sodom made thee a judge this day, that you speak about this man? And Eliezer strove with the man of Sodom on account of the poor man. And when Eliezer approached to recover the poor man's clothes from the man of Sodom, he hastened with a stone, and with the stone smote Eliezer in the forehead. So he threw a rock at his forehead. And the blood flowed copiously from Eliezer's forehead. And when the man saw the blood, he caught hold of Eliezer, saying, give me my hire for having rid thee of this bad blood that was in thy forehead. For such is the custom and the law in our land. So this man said he needed to get paid a doctor's fee because he just helped him by hitting him upside the head with a rock. Right? You had some bad blood in your forehead that you didn't tell me about. And I took it upon myself to help relieve you of it. This is how they think, right? So, and Eliezer said to him, you have wounded me and require me to pay you thy hire? And Eliezer would not hearken to the words of the man of Sodom. He said, I ain't going for it. And the man laid hold of Eliezer and brought him to Shachar, the judge of Sodom, for judgment. And the man spoke to the judge, saying, I beseech thee, my sovereign, thus has this man done, for I smote him with a stone that the blood flowed from his forehead, and he is unwilling to give me my hire. And the judge said to Eliezer, this man speaketh truth to thee. Give him his hire, for this is the custom in our land. And Eliezer heard the words of the judge, and he lifted up a stone and smote the judge. And the stone struck on his forehead, and the blood flowed copiously from the forehead of the judge. And Eliezer said, if this then is the custom in your land, give thou unto this man what I should have given him, for this has been thy decision. You did decree it. And Eliezer left the man of Sodom with the judge, and he went away. So he turned their own law against them. He said, hey, well, now you owe me. So whatever We books is clear now. Y'all settle that, right? Again, he used wisdom. You got to discern the hearts, right? He used wisdom. It's madness, isn't it? All right, so Genesis 18 and 22, right? Standing in the gap. We're going to shift to the intercession, right? Abraham interceding on the righteous that might be in Sodom. Now, this is a major key. Is he interceding for the wicked in Sodom? He's interceding for the righteous that might be in Sodom, right? Now, if the righteous, hey, I know you're not going to destroy the wicked with the righteous, so if there's righteous there and there's 10 righteous in the city, then mercy can be extended to everybody else. Just don't punish both the same, right? So Genesis 18 and 22. So the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom, but Yahuwah stood still before Abraham. And Abraham drew near and said, would you also destroy the righteous with the wrong? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Would you also destroy the place and not spare it for the 50 righteous that were in it? Far be it from you to act in this way, to slay the righteous with the wrong, so that the righteous should be as the wrong. Far be it from you. Does a judge of all the earth not do right? And Yahuwah said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I shall spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, look, please, I who am but dust and ashes have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahuwah. Suppose there are 5 less than the 50 righteous. Would you destroy all of the city for lack of 5? And he said, if I find there 45, I do not destroy it. Man, we talking about a population of 5 cities, and we looked in chapter 13, and we saw that these are not small places, right? And out of all of these cities, he couldn't find 50 or 45 or not even 10. My, oh, my. My, oh, my. Con. So, yeah, Con, we're going to get to that. That's next week's lesson. Like, we're gonna crunch that next week, and we'll, Abba willing, as long as I remember. I should remember. Make sure that we put the slides in, because you can look at Sodom and Gomorrah even to this day. Like, Sodom and Gomorrah, you can walk in that land and pick up balls of sulfur, and set it on fire to this day and see how the land was destroyed by it. Like, the rocks are like they look like they've been liquefied and then cooled back off in one solid landmass. Like, you can look and see the judgment that took place on that whole land. All praises.
Like when you look at those areas or whatnot, and you look at them, they kind of look like mountains or whatnot, or hills or whatever. But then when you pay kind of close attention to it, it kind of looked like houses and buildings and whatnot. But it was so hot, it, like you said, it liquefied. And then it kind of looked like one piece put together, but you can kind of tell, like, nah, those was houses over there.
Man-made structures.
Yeah.
All praises.
And you can also kind of see how Abraham's faith became established, because these are things that he's going through with Yah that kept building his faith up in Yah. I mean, from being in the 3 days and 3 nights in the furnace all the way up to taking 318 men going up against 5 other kingdoms and winning. And you can see how his faith in Yah kept multiplying each time he went and done things, just like inquiring with Yah about Sodom and Gomorrah, then witnessing what he did to Sodom and Gomorrah. So you can see how his faith kept multiplying over time.
All praises. All praises. So verse 29, it says, and he spoke to him yet again and said, suppose there are found 40. And he said, I would not do it for the sake of 40. Man, if that's not long suffering, knowing as wild as they was in these places, and he's still willing to spare these places. Man, talk about long suffering and mercy and compassion. And he said, let not Yahuwah be displeased, and let me speak. Suppose there are found 30. And he said, I would not do it if I find 30 there. Now, notice, Abraham knows what this place is like. He getting to think, it might not be 50 over there. It might not be 40 over there. So he's trying to keep getting the number down and keep getting the number down to only his kinfolk. I mean, if at least they can make it out. And all praises. So it says, verse 31, and he said, look, please, I have taken it upon myself to speak to Yahuwah. Suppose there are found 20. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 20. And he said, let not Yahuwah be displeased, and let me speak only this time. Suppose there are found 10. And he said, I would not destroy it for the sake of 10.
He's trying to intercede for them because he knows what their outcome is going to be at the end. They're going to be massacred, you know. So I can understand the part now where he says pray for your enemies, because your enemies don't even know what you're doing is going to cause destruction upon you if you don't turn from your ways.
And at the end of the day, we'll see on the next slide, it doesn't matter how much, or the slide after, it doesn't matter how much interceding we do on the behalf. Like once the Father makes a judgment on the matter, it's over, it's set. So this is also a very important quality that Elohim sees in Abraham, right? So keep in mind, though, this is still a very important quality to have, to intercede, right? Even though, hey, whatever the judgment is going to be, there's nothing I can do about it. The Father is still looking at you and saying, but I still want you to have that kind of heart, right? So he is willing to intercede for those that may be redeemable in the land of Sodom. He also has to have at least his nephew Lot and his house in mind. All right, so verse 29, it says, and he spoke to him yet again and said, suppose there are, I'm not going to read that again. We just read that. So this is also a very important quality. Man, I got typos and issues all up in this, man. I repeated that. We don't need to repeat that. All praises. So Ezekiel 22 and 29. The people of the land have practiced oppression and committed robbery and have wronged the poor and the needy. So again, what's the issue? This lack of hospitality and how oppression and how they are treating the people. And they oppress the stranger without right ruling. Now, mind you, I'm going to just put it this way. Within Israel today, there's a overwhelming amount of, let's just say if they had it, I'm going to pull an elder. If they had it their way, there would be a lot of oppression that would take place upon a stranger. And we would be just like Sodom and just like Gomorrah, right? But Most High is calling us to be something else and something different. Steve.
Again, like putting the tares on the left, the goats on the left, because you didn't visit me when I was in prison. You didn't put clothes on me when I was naked. And we see that playing out right here. We're so focused on, well, they're unrighteous. Look at you going in jail, in and out of jail. And I had a conversation with a youngster. I'm always dealing with, individuals struggling. Hey, man, my dad just keeps going in and out of jail. I told him if he goes in there one more time, I'm never going to talk to him. It's like, hey, that's not where he want to be at. He made some decisions he's going to have to live with. But kicking him when he's down, that's just, well, that's already what he's expecting, you know. But like, yo, I'm gonna pray for you, Pop. I'm gonna pray for you that you get your act together. Start talking to him like a man. And you know what? I needed that. You know, so each and every day we have a moment to try to get that message across for those who are people in that situation, going through that. Nobody want to be in there. They're going to have to realize it, but the hard way. But also, don't let that over who is the terror. Oh, it's got to be them. He's in and out of jail. He ain't, look at how he's dressed. He wearing the same clothes every day for a month now. So we just got to be very, very careful.
All praises. Like it says in Proverbs, like you can't judge. Don't be quick to judge a man when he's in this, a situation, because you never know. It might be the Most High dealing with him, right? But you don't know the end of that matter. So, all praises.
And vengeance is Yahuwah's. It's not ours. So that Yahuwah's are already going to deal with it. So he doesn't need, us to do any extra. Just all we have to do is just operate how he tells us to operate. And the judgment in general is enough. That's enough, So just, I agree. Just got to stay focused and make sure we are operating correctly. And it's beautiful, like, even with Moshe, when he said, blot me out. Like, what? Like, the humility that he had, like, serving. There are qualities and characteristics that he's looking for in his people. Like, no, Yahuwah, like, he going to deal the judgment part. And, yes, we also make sure that we are applying righteous judgment as he's, says and things like that. But I'm just saying, like, he's looking for those characteristics in us, and we have to display them, which this is why Abraham, he was chosen for that everlasting covenant through him, and then, the seed after. Because like you were saying there, he displayed those characteristics, and he wants us self-control. Do you have that? Like, do you have the ability to say, okay, never mind how I feel, I'll be Yahuwah. Let me direct myself and change my gear and make sure I'm thinking correctly. Do you have the ability to do that, even in the midst of all that's going on?
All praises. All praises. So, last but not least, something to be mindful of, even when you standing in the gap, right? Because, again, a lot of times what happens, I'll say this, you can grow weary in doing righteousness, right? And well-doing, you can grow weary in well-doing. And it can happen easily. Like, if you communicating with an individual that's not quite where you think they ought to be, right? And then it's like, you can get to a point where it's like, listen, wash my hands, and I'm walking away, right? Like, what did Samuel say when the people demanded a king? He said, I will not sin by not praying for you, right? Like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So,
a lot of those characteristics was already in us. So I can see why he chose us as a people, even though sometimes it can be a thorn in our side because we are that way because we're too loving and too caring for people. But I can understand why he chose us to be his people, because we exemplified this type of characteristic toward others where maybe other people didn't do this or have this instilled in them.
all praises. Like we said, we know that the other nations would come to us and say, man, what other nation is there like this? That has an Elohim like this, that's as wise as this. So absolutely. So yeah, don't grow weary in well-doing. Like, whatever the Most High has in store for the individual, that's between them and the Most High. He has that. But don't grow weary in well-doing, right? Unless it's a situation, again, according to the Father's Ruach, his wisdom, where he said, cut that off and leave that alone, got the water off, right? Like, got to deal in wisdom in all situations. So Ezekiel 14:12. And the word of Yahuwah came again to me, saying, Son of man, when a land sins against me to commit a trespass, and I stretch out my hand against it, and cut off its supply of bread, and send scarcity of food on it, and cut off man and beast from it. Now, mind you, what was Sodom's issue? They had too much food, right? An abundance of bread, scarcity and none. Now, judgment is being poured out on this land, and he's saying, hey, they're going to have scarcity of food, they're going to have this, that, and the third, right? He said, even though these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they would deliver only themselves by their righteousness, declares the Master Yahuwah. So at the end of the day, even interceding for somebody can only get so far, only go so far. At the end of the day, you got to stand on your own too, right? It says, if I cause an evil beast to pass through the land, and it shall bereave it, and it shall be a wasteland, so that no man passes through because of the beast. My, oh my. Like, we seen a situation where a bear came and tore up some, we saw a situation where a lion walks in the land and won't even touch is not concerned with touching the donkey next to it, not concerned with, it's specifically there on a mission by the Most High. Like, he can do that kind of stuff. I'm going to just put it there and leave that there. Even though these three men were in it, as I live, declares the Master Yahuwah, they would deliver neither sons nor daughters. They alone would be delivered, but the land be a wasteland. Or if I bring a sword on that land, and I shall say, sword, go through the land, and I shall cut off man and beast from it, even though these three men were in its midst, as I live, declares the Master Yahuwah, they would deliver neither sons or daughters, for they alone would be delivered. Or if I send a pestilence into that land, and I shall pour out my wrath on it in blood, to cut off from it man and beast, even though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, as I live, declares the Master Yahuwah, they would deliver neither son nor daughter. They would deliver their own lives by their righteousness. And that's deep, because we know that these are like, these men, he used Noah to preserve the whole world, the whole earth. Like Daniel in the lion's den. Like his three friends in the fiery furnace. And Job, say less. And even these three, he's saying, hey, they can intercess all they want to. Once my judgment is set, it's set. So definitely, like I said, things to just keep in mind, because next week we gonna get into the meat and potatoes of Sodom and Gomorrah. So yeah, with that being said, we told me, oh, that's all I got. All praises. I don't think there are any announcements that need to be made this moment. All praises. So the Cash App, House of Refuge Day, Ayanna Holloman. Yeah, House of Refuge Day. I can't say this. A praise team. Not gonna clap in the mic, but praise team. Y'all did y'all thing today, and especially with it being such short notice. And so yeah, definitely out of the mouth of babes. All praises. So yeah, y'all keep doing what y'all doing. Definitely, y'all did y'all thing. Don't get discouraged. Keep it going. And I'm again just excited to see y'all's continued growth and development. To everybody else, man, I'm a bit, well, I guess we'll pray out and yeah, we can eat and do all that good stuff. Hey, Aki, Braxton, you mind hitting us on giving us a little. Oh, praises. Hey, Zach. Hey, Zacchaeus, is he muted? Is he muted? Is he muted? Oh, praises. Man, hearts and minds clear. Baruch atah Yahuwah, Eloheinu melech haolam, Todah Rabah Yahuwah. We just give you thanks, honor, esteem. Magnify your name in your Shabbat day. Give you so much thanks, so much praise, bringing us through the week, allowing us to be able to be in the midst of one another, fellowship, allowing us to, in spirit, be with those that can't be here physically in our presence. Pray, Father, that you would continue to lead us, guide us, instruct us in all wisdom. Show us how to move and how to navigate within the parameters and the confines, the liberty of your Torah, that in all things your name might be esteemed. Pray, Father, that you would, again, open our eyes to the wisdom of your instructions. And all the while, strengthen our hearts when we do grow weary in well-doing. I pray, Father, that you would, like I said, continue to lead us in the direction that we are to go. We need you, Father. We need your hand to remain upon us, upon our mishmachah, our body as a whole, our individual households, and our individual beings.